everybody. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Deon Digital, and our mission is to free business from legacy. In this presentation, I would like to talk about why we believe that we can build enterprise applications based on digital contracts and immutable ledger much better than anything was out there. So that's why the mission, what we do, is this contract language that is blockchain agnostic, that can be mathematically analyzed and computed, and this allows also to build more new marketplaces. When we talk about agreements and contracts, those are the basis of all economic exchange. Before we do business and interact, we first do an agreement, and then we further transact this agreement. So we do transaction. I sell you a bike, you give me the money, but today's IT architecture only records transaction. It doesn't record the agreement. And that's why we have built a technology in which you can formalize and specify the agreements in a way that this is a restricted programming language, this can be formal verified, and is agnostic from the blockchain. And by being agnostic from the blockchain, you only need whatever immutable, persistent, distributed ledger, or even a central ledger, if parties would agree to that, in order to have much better distributed business applications. Why do you want to do that? Because if you look at today's IT systems and ERP systems, you have so many problems and so much cost that creates absolutely no value. So often companies have silos of information. The information cannot be exchanged very well, or the information needs to be interpreted again. So they're all lost in translation because they also don't know the notion of contract. They know the notion of transaction. If you do some transaction, nobody has the same shared state of information, but they have a different interpretation of the same contract in the system. So we want to address this lost in translation. Today's systems are hard-coded processing systems, often with a very, very hard-coded SQL model. And this doesn't allow to change, doesn't allow to be altered, and yet at the same time, all companies need to be more agile, need to adapt to the market in a much faster speed, need to address ever higher business complexity, and all the systems are basically failing. Look at banking, this is just a mess of databases and hundreds of people who just do reconciliation and keep the systems alive. At the same time, you have more regulatory pressure, which puts more requirements on the systems. And this gives an enormous fragmented landscape of non-interacting systems. So how do we do that? What's our secret sauce? The secret sauce is three central languages. The main thing is the contract specification language, in which I can specify and formalize a contract. And in our model, a contract is a passive object where you only express who has which obligation against whom, which rights, which prohibitions. And the contract execution is something different. That's why I don't like the smart contract notion, because I think smart contracts are neither. They're neither contracts nor smart, because you only tell them what to do. They're not smart. They just execute what has been done. In this combination of the three languages, you formalize the contract. You can report the state of the business, so who has obligation what, who has to do what next, and you have a language that connects to the old interface to execute things, to make a connection to the old system. And this is interpreted in the runtime environment and automatically cross-compiled to the ledgers. So that's why this works, for example, on Ethereum, this works on Fabric, this works on Corda. And this is very similar how to classical IT architecture is built. So you have like an operating system, you have software development kits, and this is executed on a hardware. I just see these different blockchain technologies like hardware, this is around, that persists the contract data, where you report the state, and by having this combination with this automatic coding into the blockchain as well as in interfaces, the people who build this business process can only concentrate on writing things in the contract specification language, which is a very easy scripting language that business analysts as well, I believe, even lawyer can use. And in this way, we have a totally different way of attacking the complexity of current IT systems. Bit slow. jump this. So one application that we are doing is with Daimler together. They want to build a mobility operating system, a backend for mobility that intermodal mobility works. So if you want to go from Lucerne to Las Vegas and you first go to the taxi, then drive with the railways, then take the plane and then have a rental car, you need 4 tickets, 4 payments, 4 registration, and none of the 4 could offer you the other services. So the idea is to build a backend on digital contract that, for example, you enter this whole thing over your airline app and you can still book the taxi, the railway, and the rental on the same app because it interconnects all the mobility providers. And what we provide is a common business language for the contract. We provide the connection to a ledger that persists that. If you would do this in traditional way, you had to build APIs against APIs against APIs. This will never happen. It's too costly and has been a few times, for example, in Germany with public transport tried and failed. And this is a major initiative by Daimler with other mobility providers such as Deutsche Bahn, Swiss Railways, the Netherlands Railways, Lufthansa, Volkswagen, BMW, supported also by the German Ministry of Digitalization. And the idea here is use our common language in order to build that and have this business modeling layer. Important, why they believe the technology is better, they believe it's a lot faster. Second of all, by having a formal semantic and formally verifying contracts, it is more secure than traditional smart contracts, which can be easily hacked. And this is one of the top applications of our system. And in the same way, you can think about interconnecting today's data silos in industry. You can do that in transportation, you can do that in media marketing. We all have the same problem, sitting on their own siloed databases, would need some API, some translation. And by this, you would have only one API to the layer. You have a common business modeling layer, a common language. And this is what we provide. With that, we tackle the higher complexity. We have a solution that is easier and faster to implement. You don't need a big bang solution. Most will stay in silos, connect the silos to the business modeling layer, and then start to interact. So in this way, we could generate a contract platform where contract exchanges are, but the accounting and the inventory systems are the traditional SAP, core banking, whatever you have. From Daimler, we made tests against a classical development on Java and Ethereum. We're about 15 times faster. And the code you need to write was 75% less in our language, but it generated from 10 lines of code, you get 150 lines of, for example, Java code on the Corda implementation. With that, we will connect the dots of the separated silos and help to connect this industry and build better platforms. The team that's doing that is first and foremost my partner Dirk, who's the CEO. Then we have in the advisory board Oliver Bussmann and Pascal. And what is really important is we are sitting on an asset. This language has been developed for the last 15 years at the University of Copenhagen, mostly financed by Microsoft. There's about 100 man-years that went into the development of software. So we have the team in Copenhagen with all the former PhDs and postdocs who did that, came over. We have the software engineering side in Zurich, where we connect the language to the ledgers, and we have the business engineers who build business applications. We have an office in Munich because of the connection to the German automotive industry, but we also have tests with that in media. We have tests with that in insurance, with Achmea in the Netherlands, with Zurich in Switzerland. We have Spanish banks testing this for real estate contracts in Barcelona. So we already have a range of clients that are using this with actual income. So we have software and income, so it's not a white paper, it's actually a company. We have a total capacity of 30 people now and growing fast. And what we are looking is to do an ICO in April, May. And now building up the ICO, the details we cannot say on token distribution and sales conditions, that will come up later. But we are going to do the ICO in April, May in order to raise the capital to build a really large company. And in that, I think we have really a revolution because we have a contract specification language that is very close to the notion of a contract as it is today in paper, but we make it really digital, and we make it digital in a way that it's adaptable with the legal system. So a passive contract, and the execution is separated from the contract. The technology is proven in first POCs with Daimler and Zurich Insurance. The technology itself has a basis of a more than 100 man-years development time, academically, and now by our team. The business model is to license this language to other application developers and other companies who build their own applications on that. And we have a team with vast experience and excellent qualifications. So, thank you very much.